What is up, YouTube? The more stuff I'm learning, the better I feel. Project Bluebeam. Somebody just sent me this. My main man Tahir just sent this right here. So, it's the government faking an alien invasion with drones? ? So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's check this bad boy out, man. They be tripping, Mike. Yeah, you right about that. Don't forget we live when we doing our reactions, y'all. Hey, while we get the flow going. Good to go in Mike Cross Studio.
Hey, so welcome back to the Michael Lofton Show on Reason and
What's up,
Theology.
Mike? Meet Mike.
Today we're talking about Project Bluebeam as distinct from Project Blue Book, which you may be familiar with. And yes, I will define terms here in a moment and distinguish between the two. You know, we've been talking about the drone issue lately, the mystery drones in New Jersey, which, by the way, I do plan on going to Jersey pretty soon and finding out what's going on there for myself. So stay tuned for more on that. But been doing videos on the question of these mysterious drones. And I specifically did one where I went over a video by 𝗟𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 where it appears he predicted what's going on with the drones. Now, whether or not you agree that there's an actual prediction here, or you have a different opinion on it, that's fine. But I did a video on it. It reached a lot of people. Very, very popular video. And I got a lot of feedback in the comment section. And a ton of people were posting Project Bluebeam. I can't tell you how many comments I got of that nature. And I have to admit, until recently, I haven't even heard of this term. Now, I have actually kind of heard of some of the concepts associated with this theory here and there, but never as a coherent, unified theory until people started saying Project Bluebeam. And I say, okay, let me look into this because I'm seeing a lot of people talking about this, and I need to know what's going on here and consider it. Look, I'm a very, in some ways, very skeptical person. In other ways, I'm pretty open-minded. I'm open to wherever the truth is. So when I hear a lot of people saying Project Bluebeam, okay, that gets my attention. So I started to look into this, and believe me, I'm only scratching the surface. I am sure there's a lot more that can be said about this, but I'm going to share with you what I've discovered so far and, kind of give you my overall thoughts on this. Whether or not this ties into the question of what we're seeing in Jersey with these drones. Is this the unveiling and unfolding of Project Bluebeam? And also I'll consider some alternative theories. So if you don't go for that, maybe what might be a conceivable explanation for what we're currently experiencing in Jersey and really elsewhere. And after that, we're going to take a look at a few updates to the mystery drones from Jersey. So that's what is in store for today. But before we dive in, I want to remind y'all, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it, especially if you want to see this channel grow and reach more people with this content. Okay, I need to distinguish between Project Bluebeam and Project Blue Book very briefly, because there is a difference, though some people might believe there's a correlation here. There is a difference. Project Blue Book was actually a government project, whereas Project Bluebeam is a theory. Some say it's a conspiracy theory. Others say it's a very substantiated theory and explains what is going on today. So let me give you just a brief, very quick rundown. Project Blue Book, here's a description that I was able to come up with. Project Blue Book was a systematic study of unidentified flying objects, UFOs or UAPs, conducted by the United States Air Force from 1952 to 1969, aimed at determining whether UFOs posed a national security threat and analyzing their scientific significance.
Hey guys, thank you for watching our videos. If you want to check out our live channel, the Music Recording Network Live, where we dive deeper into videos that we put up and talk about different things that's going on in the world. You can participate in our chat, or you can come on live. You don't even have to show your face. Go to our live channel, subscribe, voice your opinion, because we would like to hear from you. and help us come up with solutions. Now, let's continue on with this video.
So this is an actual government program that was in existence from 52 to 69. It was the third in a series of such studies following the Project Sign and Grudge. Over its duration, it investigated over 12,000 sightings and incidents, concluding that most had natural explanations, such as misidentified aircraft. Sound familiar with what some people are saying about the drones today? Weather phenomena, you've heard of that, right? The whole Roswell thing. Well, actually, it wasn't a UFO, it was a weather balloon. Okay, so we've heard that before, right? Weather phenomena or astronomical events. A small percentage of cases remained unexplained though the Air Force maintained these did not indicate evidence of extraterrestrial activity or advanced technology. The program was officially terminated in 1969, with its findings asserting no UFO or UAP posed a threat or warranted further investigation. Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to feel like, well, that's not the end of the story, and there's a lot of new information that has come out since then. But that's what Project Blue Book is. Now let's distinguish that from Project Blue Beam. Not the same thing. Here's a quick summary of Project Blue Beam. Blue Stream. Project Blue Stream is a theory that alleges governments, particularly the U.S., are orchestrating a fake alien invasion to create a global crisis, purportedly as a means to unify humanity under a single world government to justify increased militarization and surveillance. Now, proponents suggest that advanced technology, we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a moment, such as holographic projections and secret aircraft, would be used to simulate the invasion, creating fear and a need for global solidarity. So this event will cause a lot of people to panic and be afraid, and thus unite them together in a one world government. Some critics dismiss the theory as baseless and speculative, pointing out what they claim to be the lack of credible evidence and its reliance on assumptions about both technological capabilities and global political motivations. Now, it was popularized by 𝗟𝗓𝗓 in his book, Project Blue Stream, or Project Blue Beam, I should say, where he claims NASA and the UN will implement a new religion with the Antichrist as the head. And in fact, Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, also incorporated some of this in some of his episodes for The Next Generation. I'll also note they will, according to this theory by 𝗟𝗓𝗓, they will accomplish this by simulating the second coming of Jesus with advanced technology. And some say this is going to be the great deception that is prophesied in 2 Thessalonians 2:11 through 12, which we'll take a look at here also in a moment. So stay tuned for more on that specifically. Now, I'm going to give you maybe a little bit of a deeper explanation into this from a source that I was able to find online that describes the theory Project Blue Beam. And before I do that, though, I do want to show you a quick clip from Stephen Greer, who speaks about it very briefly on the PBD podcast. It seems that he doesn't believe in it, but he does give a very quick rundown of it. And you can see this being discussed now in popular circles. I mean, the PBD podcast is, right up there with Joe Rogan. And so it's starting to come into mainstream conversations. So take a look at this video with me where he briefly describes it, and let's get his thoughts on it. Okay, you should be able to see it. Let me make sure, however, that you can hear the audio. Okay, got the audio enabled. Let's watch it. It's a really quick clip here.
Wernher von Braun, in his deathbed in 1974, told a member of my team, Carl Rosen, that their plan is to create, eventually, an hoax, a threat from outer space, to try to unite the world, like Independence Day, the movie, in a sort of a military global junta of humans against aliens. It's all nonsense. It's BS. But it sells well. It sells movies, it sells tickets, it sells books.
This is the Blue Beam, Project Blue Beam?
Yeah, that related to that. And I met with many men who've been on operationally, like literally have been operational on those programs. It went from really clunky stuff, like the Betty and Barney Hill abduction.
Wow.
People think that was alien. It wasn't. It was us. Late 50s, early 60s. And I think President Obama was actually working on a documentary about that. And it was an interracial couple, a very interesting story. Verna.
All right, now maybe I'm misreading him, but it sort of sounds like he doesn't, believe in this theory. Sounds like he believes it's a conspiracy theory and he's not on board with it, which I'm a little surprised. I thought this would have been more up his alley because it does seem to coincide with some other things that I've heard him say in various podcasts on what's going on with the deep state and the government and technology, UFOs, aliens, all that. Okay. But it sounds like he's not fully on board with this theory, but that does kind of give you just a quick rundown. I'm trying to find some more information on this. And here's another thing that I came across that I think you might find helpful in just trying to make sense of what this theory is before we analyze it, and also maybe some alternatives. This is something I found on rationalwiki.org. for whatever that's worth. Here it says, here's what's the theory. The alleged purpose of Project Blue Beam is to bring about a global new age religion, which is seen as a core requirement for the New World Order's dictatorship to be realized. There's nothing new in thinking of religion as a form of control, its claims, but the existence of multiple religions, spin-off cults, competing sects, and atheists suggests that controlling the population entirely through a single religion isn't particularly easy. Past attempts have required mechanisms of totalitarianism, such as the Inquisition. As you can see, or at least according to the person who wrote this, they're not very fond of religions that we find in the world, Christianity, Islam, whatever. Monast's theory, the guy who came up with it, however, suggests using sufficiently advanced technology to trick people into believing. Of course, the plan would have to assume that people could never fathom the trick at all, something contested by anyone sane enough not to swallow this particular conspiracy. And then it says the primary claimed perpetrator of Project Blue Beam is NASA, presented as a large and mostly faceless organization that can readily absorb such frankly odd accusations. Aided by the United Nations, another old-time boogeyman of conspiracy theorists. According to Monast, the project has 4 steps, so we're going to take a look at them. But I thought that was interesting, NASA, because I have been hearing bits and pieces of this theory already leading up to people mentioning Project Blue Beam in the comment section. I've heard it from people who are talking about how NASA was created by Satanists and it's this evil organization, all sorts of stuff. I'll let you determine if there's any merit to that, but I say that to say, well, I have kind of heard some parts or bits of this disseminated by various talking heads and YouTubers and content creators. So it sounds like they're starting to popularize some of this stuff. Okay, step 1 briefly requires the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. This will apparently be accomplished by faking earthquakes at precise locations around the planet. Fake new discoveries, quote unquote, at these locations will finally explain to all people the error of all fundamental religious doctrines, specifically Christian and Muslim doctrines, right? So it's a theory that appears to be inherently critical of these religions, although I imagine there are some people who hold to this theory that might also hold to Christianity or Islam or something like that, and they're not entirely antagonistic to religion. So I imagine there's some variations to it, right? Step 2 involves, and they have a little part redacted here, involves a gigantic space show wherein 3-dimensional holographic laser projections will be beamed all over the planet. And this is where Blue Beam really takes off. The projections will take the shape of whatever deity is mostly predominant and will speak in all languages. At the end of this light show, the gods will all merge into one god, supposedly the Antichrist, right? Who pretends to be the Christ. All right, so this is going to tie into some concepts that you find in Scripture, in 2 Thessalonians, in the book of Revelation, among other passages from the New Testament. Also Daniel, if you look at some parts of the Old Testament as well. And we'll talk briefly about that here in a moment. That's more my wheelhouse. I'm a theologian by trade, and so I can comment a little bit more about that. So we'll take a look at it here in a moment. But the Antichrist is part of this theory. It continues into step 3, a telepathic electronic two-way communication. It involves making people think that their God is speaking to them through telepathy, projected into the head of each person individually using extremely low frequency radio waves. We'll take a look at that technology in just a second. The book goes to some lengths to describe how this would be feasible, including a claim that ELF, E-L-F, an acronym, thought projection caused the depressive illness of Michael Dukakis's wife, Kitty. All right, step 4 has 3 parts. Making humanity think an alien invasion is about to occur in every major city. And that's where it's going to start to tie into the question of the drones, right? Some people are saying that that's a prelude to this big staged event of aliens. You know, that what's going on with the drones is they're conditioning us to get used to the thought that maybe we're not alone. And that's a prelude to this big staged event where they're going to fake a huge alien invasion, the coming of the Antichrist to come and solve that situation and unite all of humanity.
That's
it
crazy.
also involves making the Christians think the rapture is about to happen, which that part I had to laugh at because, frankly, the majority of Christians don't believe in the rapture. Okay, so the majority of Christians in the world, Catholics and Eastern Orthodox, right? They don't believe in the rapture. Not even all Protestants believe in the rapture. So I thought that part was a little funny. A mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coax power, and telephone lines to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances that will by then all have a special microchip installed. Then chaos will break out. And people will finally be willing, perhaps even desperate, to accept the New World Order. The techniques used in the 4th step is exactly the same used in the past in the USSR to force the people to accept communism. Okay, so you can kind of see where this is going. That the government is going to create some fake alien invasion using really, really high-tech equipment to make you think there's an alien invasion. That will trigger humanity to unite, to come together. We're going to look at Reagan here in just a moment, speaking about that at the UN, something along those lines. An alien threat would be something that would unite humanity. And then part of that is going to be the embracing of the Antichrist. Okay, so that's the claim. And NASA and the United Nations is going to trigger all this. And some people are saying what's happening right now with the drones is that's the staging of that alien invasion, getting people ready, testing them out, getting them used to the notion that, well, maybe we're not alone in the universe. Okay, so that's the theory. Now, points to consider concerning the theory before we dive into perhaps some alternatives. Let me show you something interesting that I did come across whenever investigating the claims of Project Bluebeam. I'm going to share my screen. This is pretty wild. This is a U.S. patent for an apparatus for audibly communicating speech using the radio frequency hearing effect.
Okay.
What does that have to do with this conversation? Well, part of the theory of Project Bluebeam is that they are going to get everyone to believe that there's an alien invasion. How are you going to do that? Well, one way that you can do that is
That's the staging
by communicating
of that alien
audio
invasion.
directly to the brain of every human being, in addition to other technology that would maybe require, everyone to be able to see something in the sky, an alien invasion or something like that. But audio coming directly to the brain. Perhaps, aliens talking or God speaking to you, allegedly telling you about aliens. I don't know. Could be whatever, right? But the technology is such that there is the ability on part of the government through this technology to communicate thoughts to people through radio frequency hearing effect. There's a brief description of it that I was able to pull up here. Microwave auditory effect. It consists of the human perception of sounds induced by pulsed and modulated radio frequencies. The perceived sounds are generated directly inside the human head without the need of any receiving electronic device. So the technology is legit. It is real. Whether or not Project Bluebeam is real is a different question. The technology exists, but people who are saying, hey, what we're seeing is the unveiling of the beginning of Project Bluebeam, they might point to technology like this that does admittedly exist. And they'll say, look, the government could stage stuff like this. They could communicate audio directly to you, directly to your brain, and make you think that God is talking to you, that an alien is talking to you. There was talk about actually the military using this in Iraq to have certain people turn on Saddam Hussein. And, you know, they would perhaps hear some audio from Allah telling them to turn on him and his regime. Okay, so there was some discussion about this back in that war. So this is kind of the theory. This is somewhat, you know, one of the notions that is floating around there, and they'll capitalize on tech like this. Okay, so that's pretty curious. I do want to show you another thing here, where Reagan talks about at the United Nations, really the need for an alien threat to unite humanity. And people who are proposing this theory, proponents, are going to point to stuff like this and say, look, it's clear the government has even spoken about this idea. Now, they didn't speak about, you know, creating the threat artificially, but you can see the idea being disseminated here even by President Reagan, which is a pretty interesting point. So let's watch it together.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
Okay, so his point is that, look, we as humans, we're over here fighting on, you know, for territory, land. I mean, we see that right now taking place in the Middle East. We're fighting over religion. We're fighting over all sorts of things. But what he says is, you know what would unite mankind really quickly? If all of a sudden we were facing an alien threat. And, you know, he is right about that. I 100% admit, I do think that at that point, if we were to encounter something like that, yeah, I do believe the bulk of humanity would unite together. I'm not saying every single human, but I think the bulk of humanity, we would unite together to fight an outside opposing force. So that we don't face annihilation. Okay.
Right.
But the theory of Project Bluebeam is that the government is going to capitalize on this point and the fear that people have of an alien invasion, an alien threat. And they're going to use high technology to accomplish that task. So I want to consider some perhaps alternatives to Project Bluebeam. So I want to kind of point out that, yeah, it is the case that it could be that Project Bluebeam is true, right? I mean, that is a possibility, but I do want to also consider some alternatives, some other ways of weighing the evidence, analyzing the same data with some alternative theories. That way people kind of know, okay, here's some various options out there. I want to consider all that. Before we dive into that, though, I do want to remind everybody who's just now tuning into the show, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate your support of the channel, especially if you're benefiting from the content here. Okay, so let's consider several options here based on what we know. First of all, it could be that we're experiencing the result of dark governmental programs that is inspired by alien technology. This is actually, I believe, Stephen Greer and others' theory. So in this scenario, it's a little bit different from the Project Bluebeam view, because in this scenario, it would say that aliens are actually real, not just a lie from the government, not something that the government is staging, but actually they are real. We've already encountered aliens, perhaps Roswell. We've retrieved some of their aircraft, so we've reverse engineered some of that to one extent or another. And what you're seeing right now at, in the night sky with the Jersey drones is technology inspired by that. Or others might even point to something like the Tic Tac video and say, look, that's clearly technology that even some in the government don't know where it's from. And this is more evidence pointing to the fact that there really are aliens and we have actually retrieved technology and reverse engineered it and so on and so forth. Okay, that is an option as well, right? That is an alternative theory to the Project Bluebeam view. Another one is it could be that the drones that we're seeing are from the government and they're looking for nuclear weapons. This is an interesting one because it is one that is now blowing up on Twitter. And I'll show you why specifically. You share my screen?
Yeah, I'm going to hear this one.
Let's see here. You should be able to see it right around now. Okay. This is a post shared by Joe Rogan. Okay, so if he shares a post, it's going viral. Okay, so he shared this, a video that was just recently posted 19 hours ago. CEO of drone manufacturing company that has government contracts gives interesting take on what's happening in New Jersey. So let's listen to it very briefly here.
Hey everyone, my name is John Ferguson. I'm the CEO of Saxon Aerospace here in Wichita, Kansas. I'm not normally a TikTok kind of a guy. I like watching this stuff every once in a while. But I'm a manufacturer of unmanned aircraft, military grade unmanned aircraft, as you can see one of my systems here. There's all of these mysterious drones going on off the East Coast. And as a professional, as a subject matter expert, I wanted to give you all my opinion on what I think could be going on with these drones. I don't particularly believe that these have a nefarious intent. I could be wrong, but I want to give you the truth and what I believe. It's my own opinion, and I've not bounced this off of anybody. So, if you think it's bullshit, whatever, that's cool. I don't want to spread misinformation, as we know that there's a lot of that going around. But anyway, back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan had dismantled the nuclear program, and there were, with Russia, there were countless nuclear missiles that were disarmed and disposed of. Well, there were over 80, I believe. There were over 80 nuclear warheads that were in Ukraine that came up missing. Okay. We don't know where they are. Maybe somebody does, but nobody really knows where these are. And I speak with some pretty high level government officials on this stuff, and it seems as though that is the case. So I spoke to a gentleman a few months ago who was trying to raise an alarm to the highest levels of our government, which they had their ears closed, about this one particular nuclear warhead that he physically put his hands on. He physically touched this warhead that was left over from Ukraine. And he knew that thing was headed towards the United States. Okay. That is a very serious deal. And everyone knows that the United States government, this administration, is pushing to get into a war with Russia. We all know that. We all feel it. We all see it. Okay. Well, back up a few years. Do y'all remember when those drones were mysteriously flying across the Interstate 70 corridor from Colorado up into Nebraska, down here into Kansas and out into Missouri? Well, it was believed that those drones were looking for radioactive material because there had been some material that came up missing here in the United States. And they felt like it was high probability that the nuclear or the radioactive material would be taken along the Interstate 70 corridor heading east or west or south. So from what we understand, they were out there trying to find this radioactive material. Now, drones, they have no reason to be in the air at night unless you're doing some type of ISR work, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, looking for bad guys, or looking for a victim, a search and rescue victim, or law enforcement, or some type of military project, right? There's no reason for a drone to be flying at night, really, okay? Because they don't see shit. So, unless you have thermal optics, drones really don't see stuff. You need to do mapping during the day. If you're going to do farming stuff, mostly do it during the day. The only reason why you would ever fly an aircraft, an unmanned aircraft at night, is if you're looking for something, whether it be a person or trying to smell gas. We have methane gas detection systems that can detect gas leaks in pipelines. You really wouldn't use thermal optics for trying to find gas leaks, just simply because the only way you're actually going to find a gas leak with thermal optics is if the gas leak is aggressive enough that it has a difference in temperature. Because thermal imaging, it creates a digital image based off of the temperature variance. So whatever is different in temperature, it creates an image. Usually gas leaks so slow that it goes quickly into ambient, before you can even see it. So we have special sensors that can detect gas leaks. We also have special sensors that can detect radioactive material. So with this gentleman that I had spoken with, who was trying to raise the alarm to try to get somebody in the government to say, hey, we need to work together to go try to find this nuclear warhead, none of that ever happened. They knew that warhead was on its way to the United States. That's all that ever came of it. Nothing ever happened. This government did not do anything at all to help this gentleman raise the alarm and raise awareness that there is a very deadly weapon on its way to the United States. It's out there. Nobody knows where it's at now. It left Europe. Now it's gone. So my own guess, is that these drones are not nefarious in intent. If they are, they are, but I doubt it. But if they are drones, the only reason why they would be flying that low is because they're trying to smell something on the ground. That's it. There's no other reason for a drone to be flying in the air other than to piss a bunch of people off at night. That's it. So my belief is they're trying to smell something on the ground, gas leaks, radioactive material, whatever. So, and do I think that they're coming up out of the ocean? No, I don't think so. Drones that are multi-copter type drones, not the fixed wing aircraft that look like regular airplanes, but the multi-copters, they only have so much battery life. They have hybrid versions that are gas powered with electric, but those can still only fly for a short period of time. There's no way in hell that any drone is going to go miles off the coast as a multi-copter and fly into the interior of the United States and do a bunch of work and then turn around and fly back. It's just physics will not allow that to happen. So these drones, I believe, are launched from a location that nobody knows, but I do believe that they're flying low enough that they're just trying to sniff the ground and try to find something. So again, I hate to be a pessimist or a guy that thinks, directly to the negative. However, I know as a professional, I mean, we build professional stuff for the military. I believe that they're actually out there trying to smell something that's very important. So anyway, let me know what you think of this video. I'm not trying to gaslight. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just trying to let people know that this is a serious deal. It's only serious for what the potential could be, or for what the potential is. There's a lot of them out there. They're flying all over. They're flying low. They're flying at night. There's no reason for it other than to smell something. So anyway, God bless. I hope you all have a wonderful Merry Christmas.
Okay, so here's my thoughts on that, specifically on this, alternative theory. Well, okay, it could be that what he's saying is true, right? I mean, that is conceivable. That's certainly possible.
He said gaslight also. I must be slow. I'm the only one that just understanding what I'm not trying to gaslight you. the word and the term gaslight is something I just learned, y'all, like 3 or 4 days ago.
Fortunate thing here, unfortunate, or is it fortunate? I don't know. He doesn't actually provide any real evidence here. This is just a claim that he has heard from high-level officials that there are some nuclear weapons that are missing and that they have made their way to the United States, and that's perhaps what the drones are looking for. Again, possible, but I don't have anything to go off of here other than a guy I've never seen before, showing up on Twitter making the claim. And again, it could be that it's true. Maybe he's reliable, but I don't really have a whole lot to go off of beyond that. So I don't know. I just have to put a big question mark on that theory. It's possible. I did think it was interesting that Joe Rogan shared that. So I wanted to bring that one as an option to your attention. Another one, of course, could be that this is a governmental psyop. But what are the reasons of this psyop? That could be unknown. So that's another possibility here. Oh, one other point about his theory about the nuclear weapons, searching for nuclear weapons. I do suppose that people who are promoting the position of Project Bluebeam could say that this is part of that affair. This is part of staging the nuclear invasion. They could, I'm sure, tie it into that theory. So I'm not saying that that theory is necessarily exclusive or mutually exclusive with the Project Bluebeam theory, but it isn't necessarily something that substantiates Project Bluebeam either, so it could be an alternative theory. Another one is what is happening with the drones at night could be private tech that's even more advanced than what the government has, and somebody's just playing a big joke on us, trying to see what they can get away with, or showing how weak we are. Maybe it's, a foreign adversary testing out our defensive capabilities. I have heard some people say that that's a potential here. We did hear one congressman from New Jersey say that this is actually part of a mothership off the East Coast from Iran, so it's part of Iran. Pentagon denied that, said, no, this is not from a foreign adversary. So I don't know. That is an alternative theory that you could consider. Another is that it could be that the drones are part of an attempt to spark more investment in defensive material and the defensive sector. And this could be done without staging an alien invasion, which is, again, part and parcel to the Project Bluebeam theory. And so it could be that Project Bluebeam and all that, that's not true. There's no intention for that, but there is an intention of part of the people who are doing this to get people stirred up so that the government passes more legislation on drones and also invest into the defense sector. All right. And so that will certainly make people who are in the arms business very, very rich. This could also be part of a demonic delusion used to deceive people. We've heard that as a theory. In fact, I have to say, rivaling the Project Blue Beam theory in the comment section that I saw for so many people when I did that Cliff High video. Second to that was people saying, this isn't aliens, this isn't the government, it's demons. It's a possibility, right? I do have to say, when it comes to the stuff like, okay, this is demons, possible, but I think with claims such as, ones of a spiritual nature, you really need to have really strong evidence for that if you're going to just automatically skip natural explanations and rush to the supernatural. Right? If there are natural explanations that are perhaps even more likely, I would look into those first before jumping to supernatural ones. One of the theories that was floating around for a long time, and I say floating around, pun intended here, is that some people believed that planets in outer space, the way that they moved was by angels pushing them. Right? Angels are pushing the planets. Possible, But there are some more likely explanations for the movement of planets that have a natural answer here, right? And I would be more inclined to go for the natural solutions rather than skipping automatically to something supernatural in nature. Now, I do, as a theologian, believe in the supernatural, but I first of all recognize that God also created the natural order, and there's natural rules and laws of the universe. And I look for explanations there first before jumping to something that might be more miraculous or less likely. Perhaps this is a version of Occam's razor. Okay. But concerning this, you do have some people who would tie in 2 Thessalonians 2:11 through 12 on this situation. And they would say that this is all part of a demonic delusion that is being sent over people. And some might say that ties into, again, the Project Bluebeam view. Let me briefly pull it up on my screen so that you can see the verses in question. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see it now. Let's start around, this is 2 Thessalonians 2. Let's just start the beginning of the pericope at verse 5. Okay, don't you remember that when I was with you, I used to tell you these things, and now you know what is holding him back. That is the Antichrist, so that he may be revealed at the proper time, for the secret power of lawlessness is already at work. But the one who now holds it back, that's supposed to be the Holy Spirit, will continue to do so until he is taken out of the way. And then the lawless one, the man of lawlessness, as he's called in other translations, this is what some people believe is the Antichrist. It doesn't say Antichrist here, but again, a lot of exegetes have tied in the concept of Antichrist into the man of lawlessness. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Lord Jesus will overthrow with the breath of his mouth and destroy by the splendor of his coming. The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sorts of displays of power through signs and wonders that serve the lie. What lie is that? Well, whatever lie it is, there's going to be false signs and wonders that Satan will use to promote some kind of nefarious agenda.
We in church, y'all. We in church.
In all the ways that wickedness deceives those who are perishing, they perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie. So God sends a delusion on the people so that they believe a lie. And so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth, but have delighted in wickedness. And so there's a couple ways to look at this. I mean, some could just say, look, I think it's all demons. There's no Project Blue Book, and this is all just part of 2 Thessalonians 2. You can read it in a straightforward way there and tie that in. Sure. Others, Project Bluebeam theorists might say, well, see, what this is actually referring to when it comes to signs and wonders of Satan, that's going to tie into the government pretending to stage an alien invasion. And so these are the false signs and wonders, maybe directly communicating to your brain images and sounds that aren't really there. These are false signs and wonders. And this is to further the agenda of the Antichrist, because the Antichrist will then be set up as the one who will come and rescue us from this predicament. Okay, so there's that way of interpreting it. Another way of interpreting it is this lie that's being spoken of here is just a reference to God will allow people to continue to believe the lies that they're already involved in, wickedness and sins and so on and so forth. Another possibility here is the lie that it's referring to is since it's contextually in the context here of the lawless one, it could be that the lie spoken of in verse 9 is in reference to the embracing of the Antichrist. The lie, i.e., that the Antichrist is Jesus Christ. That would be a lie, right? If you believe the Antichrist is the second coming of Christ, that would be a lie, sure. So that's another possibility. So admittedly, there is a way to read this, that's consistent with Project Bluebeam. There's also other ways to read it, in such a way that doesn't necessarily mean Project Bluebeam is true. But I do see people who are promoting the Project Bluebeam view appealing to that verse, and I do want to just point out possibly, but there's other ways to interpret that clearly. Now, another one is that people are overreacting, and most of what people are seeing at night is, it's not some mysterious drone. Maybe it's airplanes or something. We've been seeing, the government gaslighting us, telling us there's nothing to worry about. These are all lawfully manned and operated. And, I think that one's less likely, right? But I'm sure that there's an element of truth to it, right? I do think that there are some people promoting videos saying, oh, look, it's a drone in my backyard, and it's probably an airplane or something like that, right? There's some truth to that. Okay, there are some people panicking. I heard of somebody saying yesterday in Texas that there's like a mysterious fog that's coming about, their city in Texas. And I just want to say, okay, people are just now panicking, and people are becoming paranoid because, okay, a mysterious fog. I mean, when is fog not mysterious? And then, fog, it comes and goes. And so I think we're becoming a little paranoid. So there could be some paranoia. There could be some people overplaying it. But I do think that one's pretty unlikely. But it is a possibility, right? It could be that just everybody's delusional and all of this is just, regular aircrafts, and we're making a big deal out of nothing. It's a possibility. Again, another alternative here is
out of nothing.
Project Bluebeam itself. But here, my big concern with this is, and there's actually a lot of concerns that I have with the Project Bluebeam theory, theological and just rational concerns. I have to say, okay, this is a very great claim. If you're going to make a really strong and great claim, you're going to have really strong evidence for it. Again, admittedly, I am new to this theory. So I have certainly not seen all of the evidence that is out there. But what I'm going to say is it is going to take a lot of evidence to convince me that what we're seeing is the unveiling of Project Bluebeam. It's possible, but I'm going to need to see a lot more evidence that would suggest that before I would be able to get on board with it. In other words, I'm open to wherever the truth is. I'm open to that even being the truth because it is conceivably true. But if I'm going to actually affirm it and say, yeah, okay, I think that's what's going on here, I'm going to need a little bit more evidence than this, because there's a lot of ways to interpret the data that we've seen so far in other alternative ways, as I just showed you. Those are my initial thoughts on Project Bluebeam. Perhaps you have a different opinion. Perfectly fine. Perhaps you have some more evidence for it. Perfectly fine. Feel free to send it to me. I'm happy to consider it. Feel free to post it in the comment section or email it to me, whatever. Or if you have a different theory and you have something else that you think is going on with the drones, fine. Let me know, because honestly, I just want to get to the bottom of what is going on. Like this is weird, and I feel like I don't know how we can move on to discussing anything else until this is addressed. I mean, obviously, life goes on, and we got to talk about all sorts of things, but I don't know. I feel like I'm really fixated on this point until we get answers, but that's me. I want to show you some other videos here that are coming up online. Some updates with the drones. Evidently, mystery drones are being reported in Los Angeles County. We actually saw yesterday an airport shut down in New York for an hour. The governor came and made a statement. So this is the governor saying they shut down the airfield because they were having interference from these drones. So that nonsense that the that the White House gave us, John Kirby, telling us that, this isn't accessing restricted airspace, ridiculous. We've already had senators say that. Now we're even having the governor confirm that. Before we look at those videos, though, I do want to again remind everybody who's just now tuning in, please hit that subscribe button. Take a moment. It just takes 1 second.
They also said that the drones has actually stops. It was a car accident, and they stopped the they was in the way of the airplanes and stuff getting to the car accident or something, or helicopters getting to the car accident or something. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Here in Los
here we go,
Angeles.
y'all. Here we go.
This is from 𝗟𝗡𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 Weekend Mornings. All right, let's see.
Got some new video from a viewer here at KTLA. However, this is causing some big problems on the East Coast, even shutting down a runway at New York's Stewart Airport. Well, this is a very big issue.
Moving lights. Okay, we love it. So what is this? We're just hanging out.
So this new video from KTLA viewer Sharon shows what appears to be a drone over the San Fernando Gardens community. That was at 4 o'clock this morning when she sent that over to our newsroom, with multiple other sightings across our part of the country. A TikTok user captured video of possibly 5 drones in Riverside. They've been spotted in Temecula as well earlier this week. So exactly what's going on? Temecula is near Camp Pendleton, a military base, but the Marines say they're not involved. Riverside County Sheriff, well, he suggests the drones could be from Southern California Edison, which inspects power lines with drones. However, the utility company says they don't fly drones at night. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office has received no formal reports, but is referring all concerns this morning to the FAA, which is now investigating. Well, the sightings began last month in New Jersey with reports of large drones, some the size of a car, flying at night. Since then, they've appeared in New York, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and California. One local TikTok user captured footage of at least 10 drones flying over the city, saying that they vanished after turning off their lights. The FBI says they've received 5,000 leads since November. The Department of Homeland Security says they believe the sightings are manned aircraft and not drones. But for now, there's no evidence the drones are a national security threat. However, lawmakers are demanding answers this morning.
We should be doing some very urgent intelligence analysis and take them out of the skies, especially if they're flying over airports or military bases. They should be shot down if necessary.
You can see they're very large. They're not the size of a commercial airliner, but they're the size of a vehicle. Because if they get lower, they would get substantially bigger. And I can see that. I could tell. It's not a hobbyist. And there's so many around New Jersey, throughout the whole state. Everybody's seen this for 3-4 weeks now. That imagine how much money this must cost.
Man,
and
it's a
locally
bunch
here, the
of
people have been showing the videos of drones here in Southern California. They say it's a big concern to them because they feel like their privacy is an issue and someone may be spying on them. Of course, we're going to hear from drone experts talking about what is legal and not legal. That's coming up in the next hour. Reporting live here in Hollywood, Gene Kang.
Okay, so it's, I don't know, this is just fascinating. I do have to point out, and somebody actually just mentioned it right now in the chat, that we had one of these drones that supposedly went down in Jersey.
Yeah, there you go.
The FBI was investigating it. Can we get an update on that? What's going on? Again, I said whenever we heard that the FBI is investigating, and I said, okay, well, that doesn't really evoke a whole lot of confidence in the situation and getting answers.
Yeah.
But I think that we as taxpayers can demand answers and should be able to expect answers. If we are expected and required to pay taxes, I think the government is required to provide answers, especially when this involves our safety, because a drone the size of a SUV falling out of the sky, certainly that's a safety issue, right? At the very least. So yeah, we need some answers here. Here's another one that I came across. This is, if you ever wanted to know what the word gaslighting means, it's this video. It's this guy right here. This is it. Webster's dictionary, delete the definition from gaslighting and just insert a clip of this guy as the video.
Right.
This is the definition of gaslighting. The height of it, here it is. Drum roll. Let's see it.
Absolutely, George, and thank you very much for having me. There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings. Some of those drone sightings are, in fact, drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones. And we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George.
Please
there
do.
Are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before.
You heard that right. He is serious. He is actually suggesting, well, because actually now there's some legislation that allows more drones at night. So, I mean, these are just regular people flying their drones around. I mean, gosh,
yeah,
y'all,
right. Them big
why are you being
drones.
so stupid? And these are just regular people flying drones around, because it's totally the case that drones the size of SUVs are commercially available,
especially from dawn to dusk. And so that is the reality. But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded.
What exactly do you need?
We want state and local authorities to also have the ability to counter drone activity under federal supervision. That is one important element that we have requested, and we've heard it echoed by the state and local officials themselves.
Wow. I feel just so assured. And I just feel so much better now that he said that. Again, the definition of gaslighting. Don't believe your lying eyes. This isn't what you think it is.
That's crazy, man. This is a bunch of bull, man. I mean, Mike, I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that.
You know, by humans. And so sometimes it's hard to tell what's what these days. If something is authentic, if something's made up, I don't know. I do want to just throw this out there because I thought it was pretty interesting, and there's some pretty noteworthy people sharing it on social media. So I thought I'd be amiss if I didn't at least show it to you. This one is evidently Aliens in Phoenix, Arizona, December 14th, 2022 is the title of it. The user says this is possibly the best and clearest video ever of the drones approaching UAP. And then as it touches the UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, another term for UFO, shoots it down. This happened in Phoenix, Arizona a few hours ago. So allegedly this is now taking place in places like Phoenix as well. Okay, so let's take a look at it.
Now I'm on I got a big screen, y'all. So a very big screen, TV screen. So I'm gonna let y'all know because I see.
Oh, is that moving quick?
It is moving quick. They fast.
I don't know what the hell that is.
My drone is fast.
That is quick. There's only one remaining right now.
Jeez, I wish people had a tripod. Where you going?
Hang
Where
in
you
there.
going?
He moved quick around it.
Hang in there,
Jesus.
pun intended. Come on now, let's get to it. I don't know what that is. I guess those are drones. It's so hard to tell. Is that an airplane or a drone?
He's like right there with it. Oh, he's like right on it.
It's falling.
Whatever it was just shut down the drone.
It's falling.
I didn't see a shooting part, but obviously I do see the one falling down here. So clearly the drone is falling. Did it crash into another drone? Or was it shot down? I didn't see anything being shot necessarily. I guess it's possible it was shot. So there's that one.
All they had to do
Another
is
one
touch
here. Again,
the
take it with
propellers
a grain
touch.
of
They
salt.
coming
I don't know if
down.
this one was completely made up.
Man, y'all know good and well this is man-made or woman-made. This is man-made or woman-made. Them aliens, if they was aliens and stuff, they probably wouldn't even have no lights. They wouldn't have them type of, they glowing. We don't know what they would have. They wouldn't have no lights. They wouldn't have no propellers, flashing lights in the front and the back. Come on, man. This is some bull. They pulling tricks over your sleeves, baby.
But it's pretty wild. This one is a person shooting, it looks like a Roman candle firework here. And it actually hits the UAP or drone or whatever you want to call it. Pretty wild, if real. Here it is.
Shoot that boy down. Yeah. Shoot that boy down. Shoot that boy down, bro. Shoot that boy down.
Man, that's oh, that's bull, man. That's oh my
One in
God.
a million shot. I don't know if that's real. That could be
ain't
completely
real.
fake. But that's pretty epic if it's real, right? And by the way, I'm not suggesting that you do this, okay? I'm not recommending that you do this. In fact, I've heard a lot of good reasons for not firing at these things, and so don't be a vigilante here and intervene directly if you come across these things. No telling what that will lead to.
So fake.
I thought that was pretty
fake.
fascinating. Had to share it with y'all. Of course, I'll keep y'all updated on the situation with the drones. I am going to have a drone expert on the show.
Okay.
Likely on Tuesday. I'll let you know the time pretty soon. But look for a video on Tuesday. I'm going to have a drone expert come on, and we're going to talk about various videos that are floating around. I want to get his thoughts. I want to know from a drone expert what you're seeing in the sky. Is this commercially available? Is this, some kind of PSYOP? Is this Project Bluebeam? Is this the government? Is this just regular users? What's going on? What are your thoughts? So going to have him on. I do want to get some other people from various backgrounds with the different theories and different perspectives on the show. So if you know,
all right, that's enough, man. I was trying to make it to the end, let him say his piece or whatever, but give him a thumbs up and everything. Mike, you are giving me a whole lot of great information, man, and that's what I've been looking for. When I'm looking and I'm doing research on all this stuff, man, I think I had enough of the drone stuff. I think we're done with the drones. I think that somebody's behind the drones. It ain't no alien attack and all this mess. If it was an alien attack, they would do more than just hover. They wouldn't fall out the sky if they that sophisticated. If they that sophisticated to get here to our world. Welcome to planet Earth. Why are they crashing? Or some did we crash into one? They'd be like, please, man. Zzz. They said they move so fast. And I think nobody can look, check this out, man. Nobody can see how they about the size of cars. Says who? They so high in the air, every time you try to put a camera on them, they disappear. So how do you know they size of cars or a small car? I think they big, don't get me wrong. You got a drone. If you put 3 or 4 drones together, yeah, man, this is a bunch of bull. This is a bunch of, who knows that they coming out of the water? You see them coming out the water, it's a bunch of bull. I think it's a bunch of bull. I think the government knows it's a bunch of bull. And I think that I know one thing, they can't fly but so long. That's why they keep disappearing. I think if somebody got a blue light that's putting a light up there and they make them disappear because they running out of sheet. They running out of clouds or whatever they casting this thing on, man. And the government saying, don't worry, we got it under control. So tomorrow, if we see some drone stuff, we ain't covering it. We ain't covering no more of this stuff. Wait till they shoot back. Then I'm a panic. And why are we shooting at them? Or the drones? They ain't done nothing. Look here, man. I'm going to get on up out of here. Hey, y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out. Drones ain't do nothing to us, so why are we doing something to them?